Also, WrestleVotes tweeted on Wednesday that WWE plans to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Hulkamania this month with new merchandise items and collectibles for Hulk Hogan. And an appearance by Hogan has not been ruled out, but is not planned as of right now. It was January 23rd, 1984, when Hogan beat the Iron Sheik to win his first WWE Championship. That was a reign that lasted 1,474 days. And if some people online, who thankfully are not booking this fucking show, were to have their way, Roman Reigns would hold on to the title long enough to surpass Hogan in September. And WWE just might be crazy enough to do it because if he passes Hogan, Hogan no longer has the record. There is no Hogan record, by the way, but everybody keeps talking about the record. There is no record. Roman Reigns would not suddenly move into the top spot as the longest reigning champion of all time because Hulk Hogan is not the longest reigning champion of all time. Roman Reigns would move into third place on the all-time list of longest reigning champions. But that would be enough for them to start calling him the longest reigning champion of the modern era, right? They love throwing those words around, the modern era. When Roman Reigns beat Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania last year, as he was leaving the ring, Michael Cole on commentary said he may have just established himself as the greatest champion of the modern era. They love using that terminology because I guess they consider the modern era to be from that period. I guess the Hulkamania period onward, they consider to be the modern era. So don't put it past them that they wouldn't at least consider that, right? But the fact is he would still only be number 3. To pass Bob Backlund, who they have stopped acknowledging, he would need to hold on to the title through July of 2026. And to beat Bruno Sammartino for number 1, he would have to hold on until May of 2028. You know, last year it was, we need to get him to 1,000 days. We can't have him lose at WrestleMania. He's got to get to 1,000 days. So he passed 1,000 days. Here we are a year later. Now it's, he's got to pass Hogan now. He's so close. So then when he passes Hogan, it'll be something else. Fucking Halley's Comet will be visible in the sky next May. We gotta have Roman beat the comet. Then he can drop the title. Well, actually, you know what? Roman hasn't gotten his AARP card yet. Let's wait until it comes in the mail. Then he could drop the title. Then it's, what? He hasn't qualified for Social Security yet? Let's give it a little more time. Then it's, fuck it. Let's just keep the belt on him until he dies, and then we can bury him with it. I mean, at what point does it end? It'll always be something else. That's the perfect segue into The Rock, who made his surprise return to Raw on the Day 1 episode last Monday. Came out after Jinder Mahal was sent to the ring first in a swerve, because they were teasing all weekend that a former WWE champion would be returning on Raw, and it was actually Jinder Mahal who came out. And he talked about the fans, and he healed on the fans, and said some stuff in Punjabi, and then The Rock came out. And the place went nuts, because it's The Rock, and we don't get to see The Rock very often. He's still one of the biggest stars in the world. So The Rock came out, and he did what actually I thought was a pretty terrible promo. I thought the promo was garbage for the most part. He came out, he coasted on the same material he used on Austin Theory when he came back to SmackDown in September. Just changed some of the words. But it's The Rock, and it's still special when he shows up, so people are willing to overlook it. Or maybe they're into that kind of humor, I don't know. But it wasn't a great promo, but it didn't matter. The only part of the promo that mattered was what came at the end after he beat up Jinder Mahal, because it all built to Jinder attacking him, and then of course he laid him out. He hit a spine buster and a people's elbow, and then he took the mic back and he said, "The Rock is hungry, San Diego. He's going to go out to eat. Should he sit in a booth? Should he sit at the bar? Or should he sit at the head of the table?" And that was the money line. This is the first time that they have officially teased a match between The Rock and Roman Reigns on television, because people online have been talking about this for a few years now. And it looked like it had a real shot of happening last year, and then it didn't. But it's the first time on TV that they've openly acknowledged it. So Rock is definitely doing something, we know that. Whether it's an actual match or a guest enforcer spot or both, That we don't know. And I'm sure that when we get that first face-to-face in the ring on TV between The Rock and Roman, man, the atmosphere is going to be electric. This is a match that almost happened at last year's WrestleMania. It should have happened in Hollywood, and it didn't, for reasons that still have not been explained, other than Rock saying he met with Vince McMahon and Nick Khan, and they talked about it, and they drank tequila, and ultimately they put their pencils down, because they couldn't figure out the best story for it. They put their pencils down. Cody Rhodes got the match with Roman instead. They nuked Cody at the end of the match, like they nuked every other challenger to Roman over the past 3 years. And Cody did not get to finish his story, which is winning the championship that his father had taken away from him at Madison Square Garden. Oh well, guess he'll have to finish the story at WrestleMania 40, people said. Those same people now are saying, oh well, guess he'll have to finish the story at SummerSlam or at WrestleMania 41. No, he doesn't. The main event for Night 2 of WrestleMania this year will be Roman Reigns against Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship. That was the match as soon as he lost last year, and they got the close-up shot of his sad face with Roman in the aisle raising up his titles in the background. That was the match as recently as a few months ago when he and Roman came face-to-face on SmackDown and they had the crowd buzzing. That will be and should be your WrestleMania Night 2 main event in Philadelphia. Because if The Rock wants to wrestle Roman Reigns in what will likely end up being his retirement match, I mean, let's be honest, because I think if The Rock actually came back to wrestle, it would only be for a match against his cousin. That's what would draw him out of retirement. WWE has a show before WrestleMania. It's called Elimination Chamber. And in past years, and any other year, I might agree that a match like that does not belong on a show called Elimination Chamber. Which, hey, Rock has wrestled at Elimination Chamber before. He wrestled CM Punk at Elimination Chamber. So it's not out of the question that The Rock would wrestle on, a quote-unquote B show. He's done it before. But there's a show called Elimination Chamber. Any other year, I might agree, but this year is the biggest chamber of all time. It's a stadium show in Australia. This will be their first major Australia pay-per-view. They had their global warning show, I think it was in 2002, but that was not a major pay-per-view. That was an event specifically for Australia. They didn't take the Royal Rumble there. They didn't take SummerSlam there. This is the first time they're going down there. They're going to have 50, 60, 70,000 people, like they did in Cardiff for Clash at the Castle. It's going to be a massive show. Rhea Ripley, I'm sure, will be defending her title on that show in her home country. We're going to have an Elimination Chamber match. We don't know what the stakes will be yet, but we know we're getting at least one chamber match. And what bigger main event could they book for that show than Roman Reigns against The Rock? And I can already hear the crying now. Have you lost your mind? You can't book The Rock against Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber. That's a WrestleMania match. That could be the biggest WrestleMania match of all time. It's a WrestleMania-worthy match. You're right. It is. It is a WrestleMania-worthy match. And it's okay to do a WrestleMania-worthy match on a non-WrestleMania show. Because WrestleMania this year is going to be stacked regardless. That show is already doing monster business, record business for WWE. We now live in an age where WWE is running more major international shows than ever before, and they are trying to make them a big deal. There is nothing wrong with spreading some of that wealth around. They're in a very strong position now where they can do that sort of thing and not have to bank everything on WrestleMania. You do Rock against Roman at the Chamber, and after Roman beats Rock, because there's no other fucking way for that match to go, after Roman beats Rock to solidify himself as the real tribal chief, he goes on to WrestleMania to defend against Cody Rhodes, who either wins the Royal Rumble, or CM Punk can win the Royal Rumble, and Cody's last chance is to win the Chamber to earn the right to challenge for the championship. It's taken him 1 year and a feud with Brock Lesnar that ended with Brock endorsing him and shaking the man's hand. When's the last time we saw Brock Lesnar do that with anybody else? 1 year later, he's worked his way back to the main event, and yet again, there's Solo Sikoa to ruin his hopes and dreams. The bloodline is about to screw him over for the second straight year. -1, little Brody, he's in the front row ready to start crying again like he did last year. When The Rock shows up to be the hero and fight off the bloodline to prevent a repeat of last year and to make this a fair fight. One-on-one, the way it should be. Cody beats Roman, ends his forever run, he finishes his story, Rock raises Cody's arm at the end, and all is right in the land of WWE. Because Cody's going to be there the next night to start his run, Rock will not be. Rock will head back to Hollywood having put over now his cousin, and in effect putting over 2 stars by endorsing Cody, right? The way that Brock did. The path is very simple. As I said in my review on Friday night, it is a straight line from WrestleMania 39 to WrestleMania 40, and they should not do anything to disrupt that. Do not deviate from the plan. Because I do believe that was the plan. At least from the time that Brock put Cody over at SummerSlam, they knew the direction they were going in, and it was the right direction. Unlike whatever it was they were going to do at WrestleMania 30, that was the wrong direction. At least they course corrected. This was the right direction, and I think they should stick with that direction. I put a poll up on Twitter on Monday night. Got over 4,000 votes in this poll. I was glad to see that common sense prevailed. 42% said Rock and Roman should wrestle at Elimination Chamber. 27% said WrestleMania, 10% said SummerSlam, and 20% said they don't care to see the match at all. Rock was out there. Yeah, he was a little gassed on Monday just from doing a spine buster and a people's elbow. But if The Rock says he wants to wrestle, if you're WWE, I don't blame WWE for wanting to bring The Rock back. You'd be out of your fucking mind not to. If The Rock says, I want to come back and I think I got one more match left in me, then you're not going to say no to The Rock. Right? We know it's going to be huge, no matter where it is. But not at the expense of your existing story. I would not have Roman work twice and do Roman against Cody on night 1 and Roman against Rock on night 2 because you've got 2 championships now. You created another championship because you did not want to take the title off of this man. You have 2 titles now, and you can't just make everything the Roman Reigns show. I think Rollins against Punk, if that's the match, which I assume it is, that's strong enough to headline night 1 on its own. Doing Rock against Roman on night 1, with Roman winning and then going on to lose the title the next night, that could work. But again, you've got a strong enough World Heavyweight title match for night 1 that I would not be doing that. Rock against Roman as the night 2 main event would likely be for the championship because Roman Reigns losing that title before WrestleMania would be stupid. But Rock and Roman don't need the title on the line because their battle is for a much different title. It's the title of Tribal Chief. It's the title of the head of the table. They don't need the championship. And it makes the match more predictable anyway if you have the championship on the line because I think most people are not expecting The Rock to go in there and win the championship. It's actually better if it's not a title match. Which brings me to SmackDown. The New Year's Revolution episode from Friday. Roman Reigns, he laughed off The Rock's challenge. Paul Heyman did respond to The Rock. He said to be the head of the table, one must first be invited to dine at the head of the table, and The Rock received no such invitation. The main event was a triple threat match to decide who gets to lose to Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble with Randy Orton, AJ Styles, and LA Knight. And I floated a few weeks ago, right? I floated. They went with a no contest finish. When the Bloodline interfered and beat up all 3 of them, right? That's exactly what we talked about a few weeks ago in the SmackDown review before all the best of shows, the holiday week, right? We talked about this, that this is probably what the end result of this was going to be. Even though you can't have disqualifications in a triple threat match, you have the Bloodline run in, they cause all kinds of chaos, they beat up all 3, and we end up with a no contest. Which is exactly what we got. And also continues the long-standing tradition of dumb heels in this company. Because why Roman Reigns would go out there, instead of letting the match finish, he would go out there and beat up all these men thinking, well, if I beat them all up and we cripple them, then I guess I won't have to defend my championship at the Royal Rumble, which of course we all know that's not the way these things work. Nick Aldis had another idea, which was to let Paul Heyman know that Roman would be defending the title now at the Royal Rumble against all 3 men in a fatal 4-way. And backstage after the show, when Heyman gave Reigns the bad news, Roman told him to fix this. And it troubles me the number of people on social media who seem to be okay with the idea, the possibility, however remote it may be. I don't think it's going to happen, but you can never say never. The number of people who seem to be okay with the idea that this fatal four-way being booked is to get the title off of Roman Reigns without him having to take the pin. I am amazed at how many people actually think this is a good idea. For as long as the man has been champion, over 3 years, him losing the title without even being pinned for it would be a colossal waste of what should be a big moment for whoever takes it away from him. It would solve the problem of Rock against Roman not having to be for the championship, but it's a cheap way to backdoor him out of that title. Randy Orton should not be pinning LA Knight to take the title from Roman Reigns. I think Randy Orton against Cody Rhodes for the championship is a great match for SummerSlam, not for WrestleMania. WrestleMania 41 maybe, not WrestleMania 40. And this is all a great problem for WWE to have right now, trying to figure out which path they want to take, right? Having options is never a bad thing. And I think a fatal four-way for the Rumble was the right move, because we haven't seen Roman have to defend his title in a four-way before, right? He had to defend it in a three-way at WrestleMania 37 against Daniel Bryan and Edge. But I think pretty much every other title defense since then has been a singles match. This at least gives the match an air of unpredictability that his other matches did not have. But the path is clear, and I hope they don't stray from that path. You're married to a lovely woman. You've got a good thing going. Just because your ex is back and she's got perkier breasts and tribal tattoos does not mean that you should fuck it all up for a quick romp in the sack. Stay faithful, and good things will happen.